Hey Shannon, how you doing? This is Tito from St. Diablo and PITKIVES. You doing all right tonight?
Yeah, man, how's it going?
I'm doing good. I really appreciate the time for you taking to talk to us and let us know about your new release in your band. How's the world of rock and roll treating you nowadays for like your new album coming out in January?
Oh, it's been pretty good. It's been really exciting for us. We've been building up for this album for a year, and it's really excited to finally see the campaign get rolling. So we're just gearing up for tour starting January 1st and just kind of getting ourselves mentally prepared and financially stable before we take off for a while.
Yeah, totally. I've been there. I'm a musician myself, so I completely understand. The struggle is real. But I wanted to give our readers and our listeners a little bit more insight on you guys. So for people who aren't very familiar with your band or your work, could you please let me know a little bit of the origin of your band and where you come from? Basically, how long you've been together and what part of the band what part of the band are you? You're the singer, correct?
Yeah. I do vocals. We're probably about 7 or 8 years old, I would think. I mean, like we just kind of started out as a local band around in Joplin, Missouri. That's where we're from, and that was really our only intentions in the beginning. We just were writing some music that we had always kind of wanted to write. We got a group of musicians from the area together, and we've had a few member change-ups, primarily just we got a new bassist here recently. James Copley has joined us, and he wrote completely all the bass parts on this album, and we're really we're excited to be able to have that new attribute to our sound compared to our first album. But yeah, just kind of been doing that.
Awesome. So you guys have been together for about 7 years, and you started off locally in Joplin. Can you discuss a little bit about the origin of your band's name and what it means to you? I know that you guys, I've seen in your press releases that you are of the Christian metal genre, and I take it that is related to y'all's views and beliefs.
Well, we started off as a Christian band. I don't necessarily label us as a Christian band any longer. Sure. It was something whenever we first kind of set foot writing music and stuff, that was kind of a primary goal. And I mean, that was 8 years ago. Mm-hmm. A lot of life has happened, a lot of changes happened, and you know, there's not a single person in the band that shares an identical belief system. Yeah. I think that it's been a really good move for us still to get away from that. You know, it came with a lot of baggage, and a lot of people. Once you get into the industry of the Christian, I guess music industry, you start seeing that it is perhaps just as corrupt as you would think a Joel Osteen church is. Yeah. And they're all wanting money. Yeah. Just as much as other people, and they're just trying to sell it. And we just didn't want to be part of that anymore. We didn't want to be trying to sell God. Yeah. And so we've taken a step away from that, and I think that I addressed that a lot in this album. The album's called War at Heart. And it's pretty much exactly what, the theme of the whole album, as far as the lyrics go, could definitely be wrapped up with that title.
So what is, in bringing it back to what is the origin of the band name and what it means to you would be?
The origin of the band name, it doesn't really have that snazzy of a story. I get asked that a lot. Mm-hmm. Honestly, we were cruising around years ago, me and Brian, before we even had a drummer, a couple of young kids trying to think of the name of our band, and we decided we wanted to have the name Elijah in there. And we were fumbling through different names, like the Whisper of Elijah and the Chariots of Elijah. Yeah. And I think we were on the way to the flea market one day, and Brian spit out the Order of Elijah, and long story short, that that one.
Was there does Elijah itself? What was the drawing to the name Elijah when it comes to the collective groupthink or the group mind?
Yeah, it does. I really in the story of Elijah in the Bible, he challenges all of the religious leaders of that culture and calls them corrupt and delusional, and he brings them up to the top of the mountain. Where it gets kind of kooky. They dance around trying to prove their God is real while they cut themselves, and then Elijah, lo and behold, shows that his God is real by bringing down fire and burning a bull alive, and so kind of an awkward twist there. And then after he proves them all wrong with evidence, I guess you would say, he takes them on down the bottom of the mountain and cuts all their heads off. I don't necessarily believe that fire came from the sky and torched up a poor innocent bull, but I do appreciate the storyline, and it's kind of been, I guess, somewhat of my idea to stand up against the delusional corruption that's just going on all around the nation and stuff like that. Not just religion, but I think it's a duty of the youth to stand up against any type of corruption.
I love it. Duty of the youth. I love it. And I had an idea of the idea of the name and where it came from, but I definitely wanted to get it in your own words so that our listeners could get your perspective on it. And I love the idea. I love the idea of the challenging the beliefs, and I love all that. And the duty of the youth. It's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Well, the one thing I will comment is I found that it is quite taboo to challenge ideas. Challenging beliefs and ideas has there's been like this regressive left thing going on where, that if you challenge, or if you, not so much challenge, but even if you try to debate or even discuss why someone believes in what they believe in, suddenly you're offensive and suddenly you're wrong. Well, I don't believe that criticizing ideas or beliefs falls under the same guidelines as criticizing human beings for who they are. If you meet someone that believes something preposterous, or if I do, I like to know why. I want to know why they believe that preposterous thing. And I will say that I've been guilty of believing preposterous stuff, but we're approaching the age of reason, and people need to stop being so afraid to discuss stuff that they hold dear.
I love it. I come from the exact same background, and ask myself and the peers around me all of the very same intellectual questions. I love that we're on the same wavelength. A lot of this is just me trying to get you to say it in your own words, because I would never want to misquote anyone. So thank you so much for sharing that. That's awesome.
Oh, no problem, man. I try to be as straightforward as I can.
Awesome.
Sometimes that causes problems.
So I take it that challenging beliefs and challenging status quo is a motivation in your view and your human experience. So when did you realize that you wanted to be a musician? Like when did that come into your? When did you realize that was your calling? And was being a musician part of the need to communicate, or was it more a need to be creative?
Well, I think the term calling is very subjective. Some people believe that they've been called to be a doctor. Mm-hmm. Some people believe they've been called to be a pastor, and some people believe they've been called to blow up abortion clinics.
Yeah.
And I believe it's very subjective. I urge anyone listening to be very weary of somebody that they have some type of phenomenal divine calling about themselves, and never forget that, even pastors and priests that claim that they have spoken to God mm-hmm. are guilty of sexual molestation and stuff like that in the news almost every day. And these people will share to tell you they've heard the audible words of God that called them to do these things, not the atrocities, but to stand in His name. But as far as music goes, I do see my music as a method of having a voice. I don't like to write about meaningless stuff. I don't like to write about, getting messed up and partying. I like to have a good time, and I will, I don't mind writing about that sometimes, but whenever you make that a complete focus, and, I guess that if that is, what you want to do, but I don't believe that kind of mentality, using your voice for such minuscule things, really doesn't offer the world a whole lot. And I think it's time that the world stops getting hung up on trivial, trivial topics, and such as sex and anything that sells. As far as being a musician, though, I love writing music and just being an artist. So even if I wasn't in this band, I would probably still be in a basement somewhere, writing something. I'd be sitting at a computer writing my own stuff, or perhaps sitting with another group of guys. But this is the group of guys I'm with, and I absolutely love them. We have a great time, and we're really excited to have the privilege to be able to do what we're doing right now.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. We are, would you agree that we're all a product of our experience, and some of our experiences lead us to places in our lives with our brother and a group of people that we choose to be with? Some musicians are lucky enough to stay together for many, many years without a lineup change or breakups. Is that the case in your experience, or have you been in many other bands that have led you to this band?
I've been in 2 other metal bands. If we want to count high school jazz band and marching band, I guess we can. That'd be 4. But I don't really count those as what most people are considering bands that we're discussing. Mm-hmm. I have been a band nerd for quite some time. But as far as experience, I do like working with the same sort of boys. Lineup changes are not fun. They're rough. I see younger kids, or I see younger musicians in local bands around our area, or even towns that we travel to. And, they'll be together one month, and the next month they're not together. One day they've got one singer, next day they've got a different singer, and now they do ska music, and I do believe that there's a certain power in consistency, but sometimes, change is inevitable and change is good. But there's just a fine line of balance in between that, and as far as my personal experience, the boys that we're with right now, every one of us has been down, a path with each, a personal path with each member. We've had our differences, we've had our similarities, and I think that once you learn to get over some of those silly things, and you learn not to do stupid stuff like try to have sex with each other's girlfriend or something like that, something I hear other bands getting into it about. Mm-hmm. Once you learn not to air your dirty laundry on Facebook, I see bands complaining about their band members right there on Facebook, and that just shows, it shows a sense of unprofessionalism, even if you're in a marriage, to be doing that kind of stuff about your spouse. And we don't do that. I'm very, very glad that each one of these boys they have a professional approach. Each one of us are all about the art. We love making music. We love trying to challenge our own talents. And so I think the more you can learn to stay with people, learn to forgive each other, and just learn to make your band members some of your best friends, then you're gonna have a lot more better chance at somebody noticing you.
That's awesome. Yeah, I completely agree. I'm one of those fortunate people that have been in the same band all their life, so I completely understand and agree can agree to the equity that is involved in being with the same group of people and learning from them and growing with them. I know when I started playing that I wasn't very good, but I got better with the people that I was with, and I wouldn't have been able to do so if it wasn't for the collective memory and the collective effort and that collective growing together. So completely understand and agree. Thank you.
Oh yeah, that's awesome, man.
So with that being said, can you talk to our readers or our listeners about a decision you made in your music career? If there is one that you can look back from hindsight, because hindsight's 20/20, is there one decision in your music career that stands out that maybe you regret? Maybe you would have done something different. And of course, my follow-up to that's going to be your best decision. So it takes that type of a turn. What kind of experiences would you say that you have that you might at one point have regretted in your music career?
Oh man, I try not to think about regrets. I'm definitely not someone that says I have no regrets. I mean, someone says they have no regrets is either a liar or convincing themselves that everything they've ever done is good. And I understand that we do learn from our mistakes, and sometimes mistakes are necessary. But, I mean, even as far as just small decisions, I can look back and be like, oh, man, I wish I would have filmed this video here. Oh, I wish we would have done this on this. I wish we would have had this artwork instead. And I try not to get too wrapped up in that. I feel that every step we've made so far has been part of our process of getting here where we are today. So I don't regret anything. There are some things I would probably look back and do different, but it's no more than just trivial type stuff. As I listen to the lyrics and how everything was written, I can reflect back and see the timeline of how, where we each were at that time. I can listen to Brian's riffs and I could think of, definitely one song off our first album. Brian absolutely hates playing it. The crowd absolutely loves it whenever we play it. We can't play our hometown without them demanding that we play Nails Over Duct Tape. And if I ask Brian today, do you regret writing that song? He'd probably tell me yes. But I know many of our fans that would disagree with him because he doesn't really have that same writing style anymore. He's a lot more innovative on his approach and everything. So I'm sure that whenever he reflects back at that song, in his own head, he thinks, man, I could have done that better. Mm-hmm. But I just try to focus on doing our future projects better and trying to learn from the things I would have done different and try to make sure that as we progress, I'll be able to look back more and more and not have those thoughts. So, as music changes, you never know, though. Humans change fast. Yeah.
Some say that the only constant is change.
Yeah, that's true.
So, moving along, so tell me, who inspires you? Who inspires you as a lyricist? Are you inspired more by other music or other musicians, or are you inspired by other different types of art? What inspires you predominantly and most?
I've got a handful of different things that I would call inspirations. I'm inspired by Elvis. I really dig some Elvis. He's the first person to step, into the shoes of a world famous rock star, and I really got into his life and all of that on a period of my time, and so now I have a great appreciation for Elvis. Granted, you'd not be able to see that probably when listening to our music. I've gathered many influences throughout the years. I remember the first time I heard Chad from Mudvayne doing really fast screams, and I thought, wow. I was like, that's something I've never heard, never nothing like that. And so one of the first persons that inspired me to start screaming fast was Chad from Mudvayne long ago. But there's so many artists that just get piled up behind him. I mean, Parkway Drive's lyrics have really given me a lot of drive and a lot of inspiration towards, like, whenever I read Parkway Drive's lyrics, when I read Winston's lyrics, I just literally think, I'm like, yeah, why didn't I write that? You know, like, it's so good.
Yeah.
Especially off some of their older albums. I just phenomenal lyricists. But, you know, I'm also inspired by Life of Vince. Just about the time this album was starting to get written, I went through a divorce, and it was pretty much like the roughest year and a half of my life. And I would definitely say that as some inspiration in this writing, too.
I would definitely assume so. But thank you for sharing that. I'm very personal. Appreciate that.
Ain't no problem.
So,
I'm an open book.
when we're talking about trials and tribulations and getting in life, and it getting in the way of expressing your ideas and being able to write the songs that you want, but after all that work is said and done, after all the writing and all of the life happens and all of the learning from life and being able to capture it and then record it, can you briefly talk to our readers and our listeners that are inspiring artists about the trials and tribulations of getting your work into the right hands, and just expand a little bit on your journey when it comes to like walking into the marketplace and doing the whole getting signed and doing a national release.
Okay, I'm going to clarify the question real quick, just so I know, and make sure I got it. I got it down. So the question is pretty much, what are the pros and cons to seeing your music or seeing your stuff get signed?
So basically, more like, do you play the music industry game? Do you subscribe more to an indie grassroots organic strategy focused more on the love of music, or are you striving for a career goal that makes your stand and your mark on the timeline of rock and roll?
Okay. Oh, I definitely have something I'd like to throw in on that. You know, I was just talking about this the other day, and one thing that I've been told for years and years, we've done many different battles. I mean, we've done so many battles of the bands. We've done so many independent tours by ourselves. We tried the independent game really hard because we were told from the beginning that there's no reason to have a label. There's no reason. You can do all of this on your own. You can do all of this on your own.
Mm-hmm.
That's bullshit. That is a myth. That is a myth that I'm going to distinguish and stomp out right here. Yes, you can, as long as you have the money. Yes, you can, as long as you have the job. As long as you don't have a job and you can sit in front of that TV the way my publicist, in front of the computer, the way our publicist sits in front of the computer all day, or perhaps the way that the owner of our record label sits and just works his ass off on every single band, day in, day out, getting them. If you can do that, that's cool, but you still have to have credentials behind you. You know, you can have a great YouTube video doing great. You could be having record sales and all this, but if you go in and you're like, hey, we're the Vultures from Connecticut, and we're trying to tour through Kentucky, they're going to say, why should we bring you here? Who are you? Mm-hmm. And we tried the independent game for a long time. Whenever we signed to Rottweiler Records, I saw such a major boost in all of our publicity and everything. And now that we're with Luxor Records has been just shooting us off the map. And I've been doing about an average of an interview or two every day. I was never able to score that stuff as an independent band because no one wants to interview independent bands. Mm-hmm. And so it's not that I think that, you know, it just depends on what your goals are. If you just want to play music and stuff like that, you know, in front of people, have a good time with your friends in your band, and, you know, go to the bar on the weekends, get drunk, and throw down in front of, you know, your Facebook pals and stuff like that, then, yeah, man, you can probably take care of this. If you want to go national and you want to do stuff in a big way, I will say that there is bands that have done it, but there's a very, very select few bands that have been able to achieve, you know, mass status on their own. And even if they claim it on their own, they've probably got some distribution companies behind them, at least somebody to pick them up as a publicist, stuff like that, you know. And whenever you sign to a record label, if it's a good label, that label has a lot of things you don't have. Number one, they got money. You probably don't have money. You're probably a broke musician unless daddy and mommy buys you all of your gear and paid for your van and paid for your trailer and paid for your food and paid for your gas whenever venues stood you up and paid for your van to get fixed on the side of the road. You know, and then another thing is contacts. You know, like our label has so many. I couldn't even believe the people he started throwing us at and stuff that was helping us out, that was totally willing to jump on because of our credentials of being with Luxor. So I personally, you know, whenever we go into beliefs, I believe that it is a myth, and it is not progressive to tell some bands, hey, you can do this on your own. Now, granted, whenever you first start off, no, you aren't going to get signed. You don't even need a manager. I see some bottom line bands come to the show, and they've got their manager, who is actually, you know, their cousin Bill or something, coming up speaking for the band. And so it's like, well, you know, you've got to take baby steps. Mm-hmm. You know, you do have to get yourself off of your feet, and you do have to do the independent work. We did a lot of independent work. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's where the difference comes in, where it isn't a myth that you can do this on your own the entire time, but perhaps we could change those words and say, you must do this on your own to get recognized by the people to get you where you want to go. So, I think that a lot of people get stuck in their musical career, you know, with arrogance or maybe narcissism, saying, you know, like, I can do this, I don't need any help. Mm-hmm. Like, I got news for you. Help isn't that bad, man. Help is good when you got the right people on your side. And, I mean, now we have our merch up on the Victory merch store, where we've had the more pre-orders for this album than we've ever had any album, and it's only halfway through pre-order season. So I'm really convinced that if you find a good company that can help you out, that you should take that. You should take that opportunity, as long as they're not screwing you over.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm very, very, very interested in asking these questions to bands, because a lot of our readers are eager young artists that don't really know what to believe when they're talking to people on the street, or talking to venues, or talking to people on the internet. So thank you so much for such an honest and balanced answer. It means a lot.
Oh yeah, no problem, man. And I get hit up by a lot of new artists, people that are just starting their band off, you know, asking me, like, how do I get us up our feet? You know, what should be our next move? And one thing that I always tell them is, you know, for one, make sure you get a logo, get a good logo to where people can see it from a mile away. After you've seen a logo enough times, I mean, you can probably think right now of the Whitechapel logo or the Chelsea Grin logo, and you immediately know, you may not know what each letter says, but you've got a shape in your head. You're already identifying that. And I think that's one good thing for a band to do. I think bands should also work on getting professional recordings. Go pay the money to get a professional recording. I don't care if you've got a ripped-off version of Pro Tools on your laptop, and you think you can do all this on your own. Maybe go ahead and start it on your own, but when you want to get the final recording, go get a professional recording. Make a lyric video or something. Don't just drop it on SoundCloud and expect everyone to come in. Hype it up. Get a release date. Tell your people. You know, hit up some magazines. There's always magazines, like little .com magazines or article pages that are willing to help push beginning bands just as much as they do the bigger ones. So I think that there's a lot of outlets that a lot of people just overlook. And I just try to encourage everyone to have a marketing mindset whenever you go towards your band. Again, just in case, just short of wanting to do it for fun, because I get that a lot. They'll be like, well, we just want to do this for fun. I'm like, oh, well, that's fine, Like some people want to take it a step up. I think most musicians do.
Mm-hmm. So, thank you. Really appreciate that. Tell us about your upcoming tour. Tell us about how and where people can see you next, and when your album is coming out.
Our tour starts January 1st, so we'll be starting off in Fayetteville, Arkansas. The tour stretches through Arkansas. We'll be hitting Florence, Alabama, Memphis, Tennessee, Shreveport, Louisiana, Dallas, Texas, San Angelo, Oklahoma City. We're kind of going for the dirty South. We haven't toured down there for about a year, and we've had a lot of people asking for us to come back. We've always done really good in Texas. So we're really encouraging all of our Texas fans to make it out, because these are going to be some really killer shows. I've been looking at the events online, and all of the promoters are working their butts off. And so each one of these events is going to be good. If you can make it out to any of them, I suggest you try. You can if you go to our Facebook, we've got the tour flyer up on there, and it has every date listed. And there's also, links where you can go find, pre-order the album and stuff like that too.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we're going to have all your links up on this interview when we post our final interview, so we really appreciate that. When is your album coming out again, so that the readers know?
The album releases January 8th, and you can pre-order it on Amazon and all that, but if you have an iPhone or iTunes and you can pre-order it on iTunes, then you will get 3 songs immediately. So anybody that pre-orders on iTunes gets 3 songs before the album even releases.
Awesome! It's such a cool way to get people incentivized, and then when the album drops, then it just lands in their device. Correct?
Yeah. As soon as it drops, you go into your iTunes, and it should already be downloading. They'll give you all the songs probably on the stroke of midnight of January 8th.
Awesome. So our editor really wants us to make sure that we ask all the bands that we talk to if there was any if you were to interview Pit Knives, if you were to interview us as a organization, what one question would you ask us when it comes to what we do, what we like about bands? And our editors kind of always want us to fit that into our interviews, so I just wanted to put that out there real quick and see if I can get any questions you have for us that we could answer to you.
Oh, man, let me think. I don't really have anything too interesting for that question. Perhaps a question for you guys, right?
Yeah, and it throws people off a little bit at times, but basically it's just a way to make sure that we represent ourselves properly to you. If there is no question, don't worry about it. We just want to. It's like basically, you have any questions for us that you might want to know? No big deal if there isn't. Yeah, exactly. No.
How about this? Do you guys encourage moshing or hardcore dancing? Which one of you guys? What of the two would your company push?
Moshing. I can't stand what the kids are doing with this ninja stuff. That's just my.
Okay.
And that's a perfect question. That's exactly what we're looking for. Just something off the wall, break off the tension. Absolutely. Just wanted to make sure that no one's asleep. Thank you for participating in that. For real though, if there's ever anything that we could ever do for you guys, please let us know. We really enjoyed the time talking to you. Is there anything that you want to discuss that maybe you didn't get to discuss throughout our interview involving your band or the publicity of your new album and where they can get it and tour? Anything you want to discuss that you didn't get to mention while we talked?
No, we covered quite a bit. I would just encourage everyone to go out and go check out our brand new video. It's called From the Dawn. It just got released on Vivo. It premiered on lambgoat.com. Go check out that video. We filmed it in Michigan, and I'm really stoked for the video. We've gotten we've been getting great reviews on the video. I would say 1 out of 10 reviews is negative, and so that's really encouraging for me. Mm-hmm. I'm really stoked to just show that to everyone that we can. Go check out the video. Pre-order our new album. I promise that you guys aren't going to be upset. If perhaps you're a Christian that was listening to our earlier discussion and you heard me mention that we aren't a Christian band anymore, hopefully that doesn't, hopefully you're open-minded enough to be able to realize we still have a good message, that you can still listen to our music. And I've had some people get upset because we don't claim that title, but I believe that just therein lies the distinction of why I wanted to get away from that. We're just a band, you know. So I would encourage everyone to don't shun this album. This is a great album. Every one of the boys poured every one of our hearts into each one of the parts, and I'm excited to release it to everyone. It's been a long time coming.
Well, thank you very much, and we really appreciate your time. We wish you the best of luck and health on the road and great success on your new album. I think my favorite song on the album because I was listening to it earlier today on the Linux system, I think it's the Forgotten Children of God, or the Damned Children of God.
God's Unwanted Children.
That one. I have a little bit of dyslexia, but exactly that one. I found that one to it spoke to me. I mean, I don't know if it's a single or anything, but it definitely spoke to me. I really enjoyed it.
There's a video for that song too. So I mean, if you like, I encourage everyone to go check it out. There's a lyric video and an official video up for that song. So go check that out and show your friends.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking to us at Pit Knives tonight. I'm Tito, and thank you so much, Shannon. I really appreciate it for your time.
No problem, man. Thanks for the interview.
All right, man. Well, take care and keep rock and roll evil.
All right, see you.